So now that the new year, new you messages have faded away, I thought it would be fun to share my personal health plan for 2025. Listen on to discover the crazy things I'm working on. So welcome to Joyful Eating, episode 220. So today I'm going to share with you my health plan for 2025. But before we get to that, the best bite I've had recently was it's raspberry season here. It's coming into autumn and I've got just been gorging myself on raspberries straight off the bush. And it's just homegrown fruit. You just can't beat it when it's still warm from the sun. It's just an explosion of flavor. So yes, I'm feeling very blessed to have my raspberries, and I'm planning more raspberry plantings as well. So in this episode, plan for today is, first I'll share the story behind this episode, and I'm going to share with you my theme for 2025, and then I'm going deep on my health plan. So it's not a mental health plan, which is the first thing I'm going to be sharing because it's, I think, the most important aspect of health and the most overlooked aspect of health. I'm going to share with you my fitness plan, my nutrition plan, and also we'll wrap it up at the end with one tiny step that you can implement today. So basically, the story behind this is there's a podcast I listen to. It's by a guy called the Blind Boy podcast, and it's produced or created by this Irish guy who lives in Limerick, which is the city where my Irishman's from. So he talks a lot about Limerick stuff, which is always quite nice. And he also has autism, and so he often talks about, he's super creative. His mind, he talks about all sorts of crazy stuff. I love listening to him because I always feel like I've learned something about the world or something about history. He goes off on all these crazy tangents, which is so fun. And I just love how he's so authentic. Like, he really expresses his own authenticity through his podcast. Anyway, so he often speaks about mental health because his autism, he is really prone to burnout and literally just shutting down, where he can't loses executive functioning, which is a thing with autism. And so he's often talking about his mental health plans. And I love those episodes when he will share that stuff. So I just thought, oh, it's always fascinating, like someone that you listen to, actually see what do they want? How are they planning to keep their health going? So I thought, yeah, let's do an episode for Joyful Eating. So that's a story behind this. I highly recommend the Blind Boy podcast. He has millions of listeners, and he's just really fun. So yeah, definitely check that out. I wanted to start with, each year, rather than set a resolution or have goals, I do actually have goals, but rather than have a New Year's resolution, for years, I've been having a word for the year or a theme for the year. And so 2025 is my year of feeling content. And I love the idea that when we're content, it's not that when you're content, it's not that you don't want to change, you don't want to improve. It's that you're really able to appreciate what is, and also you're patient for what's to come. So you know that there will be good things in your future, and you appreciate what the good things that you already have. So it's a really beautiful, abundant feeling when we're content. So I was like, yeah, I really want that for 2025. And I feel like we're into March, and I really feel so far that I'm doing a great job on the content front. Really am appreciating my life. And so some of these things that I share today, we're going to are a reflection of those practices and habits that I have. So it's really nice to be in the year not feeling like I'm behind on my theme. It's really fun. Okay, so let's talk about mental health. So there's a long list here, and I had family member close to me who had a lot of mental health issues last year and serious stuff. And it just made me appreciate how much we take our mental health for granted and how fragile it can actually be. And so I share this with you just to inspire that if you are going to pay attention to any part of my health plan, the mental health part is the most important, right? And because without that, we aren't ourselves. So let's dive into my mental health plan. So the first thing is that I'm actively doing is practicing non-attachment to my goals. And if you listen to the episode I did with my sleep coach, and also I did an episode towards the end of 2024 where I shared how 2024 had been tracking to be my worst year, but it actually ended up being my best year, one of my best years. And that was because I had this big lesson, huge lesson, probably one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in my life, that I was attaching my self-worth to achievement. Like I had this huge achiever drive. And the reason for that was because I had this thought error in my brain that when I was only worthy as a human when I achieved things. So that's why I was always like striving and working towards goals and how and just understanding that link, and that had caused me so much problems with my sleep, but also how it made me put a lot of pressure on myself, and it also made it harder for me to actually achieve the goals because I wanted them so badly, right? So my number one thing for mental health I've discovered is for me to be content rather than trying to achieve, and actually appreciating that, yeah, I'm a worthy human exactly as I am, and not be comparing myself to other people, like doing the compare and despair thing where I see other people and thinking, oh, I should have way more downloads, like rather than thinking about Blind Boy having like millions of downloads a month, just thinking like, I love Blind Boy and like he's an amazing person, I'm an amazing person, and not be in that comparison, that place. So that is huge for me. And this is a new thing, and I feel like it's working quite. I feel confident with this one, right? And I've actually been, when I have a work goal where like rather than making like a dollar figure the primary goal, I'm having that as my bonus result, which is nice. But my main goal, or my winning result, as my business coach would say, has been to have excellent sleep and to really focus on that. First thing from a mental health perspective, there's a long list here. We'll be here for a while, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. Then the next thing I started actively, a habit that I actually started cultivating last year to help me just be more present in the moment. And Blind Boy speaks a lot about this, that so much of our mental health, like our depression and our anxiety, like mental health problems, comes from either regretting the past or worrying about the future. And so the alternative to both of those is to just be in the present moment. And so one practice that I've had that's I really love and that I'm continuing to do is it's called the 5-4 practice, and I'm not sure where it came from. Like one of my Naturally Healthy Club clients actually told me about it. And basically you stop, you choose a time and then you stop what you're doing and you look at 5, I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but 5 things that you can see. So you spend some time noticing 5 things and appreciating them. Like I've got this beautiful bush from my garden here that I pruned the other day. 5 things. Then tune into your hearing and notice like 4 different things that you can hear, and then 3 different things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And oftentimes I get distracted by the time I do the feelings and I don't do the taste and the smell, but sometimes I do them all, and it's really helps me having that practice helps me be in the moment when I'm actively practicing it. But I've noticed I'm way more in the moment more of the time when I'm not doing that active practice, and it just helps me feel content because I'm where I am, and it's really feels great. That's it's helpful practice. Another practice for mental health, like gratitude, is always being grateful. There's a heap of research around the mental health benefits of appreciating what you already have. And for years we've had, actually since even before we had children, my Irishman and I would always at the dinner table before we started eating say at least 1 thing we were grateful for. This year we've kind of upgraded that a little bit and gone more in depth with that. And so rather than just saying something we're grateful for, we've been each saying a rose, a thorn, and a seed. And apparently I got this idea from my sex coach, and I think she said it was something the Obamas did when they were in the White House. But so you say a rose, so something great from the day, a thorn, which is obviously something that sucked about the day, and then a seed, like something that you're working on or that you're excited about for the future. And sharing those 3 things, I wasn't sure how it would go, but actually sharing the thorn, particularly with the boys, has been really helpful, and it helps us connect more because we're not just talking about all the good things. We're actually sharing, like I'm sharing it, like sometimes my thorn is something that they've done, but oftentimes it's a personal struggle that I'm having, and they're getting visibility of seeing, oh yeah, like my obviously they know I'm not perfect, but yeah, like actually seeing, oh yeah, like humans have struggles, adults have struggles, and things aren't always great for them, and they work through them. So it's a really fun practice. So I highly recommend the rose, thorn, and seed. And like you don't have to do it at the dining table. It could be another time of day that you do it, but it's really definitely fostering more family discussion as well. And just there's definitely more of a sense of connection. So it's helping with the relationship side of health as well. Another huge one that's been really great for me is using tapping, so also known as EFT, as a pattern interrupt. So when I notice myself starting to freak out about something and worry about something and go down the the river of misery and despair thoughts, I've been doing tapping. So I won't go into how to tap on the podcast. Like you can there's plenty of videos on YouTube, but I got this from my money coach. So it's just you tap on different parts of your body with your fingers while you're speaking out, like you're talking about what it is that you're worried about or what you're freaking out about. And I find that it doesn't make me feel amazing, but it's a really great way to pause and have a pattern interrupt, to have a reset so that you don't go into the the doom and gloom thoughts. Okay, so another mental health thing I've been doing is I've been studying Wim Hoff, who's also known as the Iceman. So he has a breathing technique, and he's really big on cold exposure as well. And there's quite a bit of research around. There's more than just mental health benefits to both of those techniques. So I've been doing his breathing exercises in the morning before I get out of bed, which is nice. And then I've been having cold showers, and I had my first ice bath the other day. So getting really big on the cold exposure too, which is very invigorating. And it's good for cardiovascular. It's good for a lot of other aspects of health, but I thought I'd mention it in the mental health section first. Another thing for my mental health, this has come from my friend Courtney Carver, who is one of the resources I'm sharing with. She's got a beautiful book out called Gentle, and I'm actually going to be interviewing Courtney soon. So you'll get to learn more about Courtney's work soon. But one of her big things, she has a blog called Be More with Less. And so she's super into simplicity. And as am I. However, after reading Courtney's book, I've just realized that there's an opportunity. Like all people, like I learned about minimalism 20 years ago, and yes, I applied it to my life vigorously then, but things have crept in. So I'm actually actively saying no to things and making more space on my calendar for for nothing, for me just to have pottering in the garden time. And it's really that, I think having that less activities creates this spaciousness, which creates less pressure, which has a huge knock-on impact on mental health as well. Another thing I'm doing is taking a break from social media. Not that I'm a huge social media person, like I'm a massive introvert, so I don't need to see other people's lives online. But I have always felt that, I should, because of my work is that I should be sharing recipes. I should be sharing stuff on social media. And I just realized that I don't really enjoy it. Like creating content for algorithms isn't my thing. So I just decided last year to do an experiment of not posting and just see what happens. And the world hasn't ended, and I'm not missing it at all. So I'm continuing with that break. I may experiment with posting a bit again in the future, but for now I'm just enjoying the extra space. Another mental health thing is I have a coffee in the garden in the morning, so I'm getting some garden time each day, which at the moment when it's autumn and the weather is beautiful, it's so lovely, but I'm planning to do that in the winter as well, because that's really important for getting daylight exposure, and particularly in our eyes, like that has benefits for sleep, but it also has benefits for mental health. And another thing that I do, gosh, this is a long list, is like actually giving myself some space, some time every day to do nothing. And so this is part of doing less, but I call it what I need time. But when the boys come home from school, like at 4 o'clock, they unpack their bags, they have screen time, and I have what I need time. And so some days that's like lying down and actually having a rest. Some days it's doing some gardening. Some days it's doing a like listening to an audiobook or doing something like that. But it's really fun to have that break and then have that transition into the evening time. Next on our list is my fitness plan. And basically, I'm pretty active. So I don't really want to add anything to this. But what I am doing is just looking for opportunities of where I'm already doing something. Is there, could I change it in a way to make it more effective? I'm really committed to, and I love the idea of having big muscles. So I'm already doing 4 workouts a week where I lift stuff, but these are like minutes, like I've got it really streamlined. So rather than add more workouts or increase the time on that, I really didn't want to do that. I don't want to get a trainer, like, even though it might be helpful, I'm like, nah. But so what I have been doing is I bought some wrist weights and some ankle weights. And so I'm just adding them onto what I was already doing. So I'm lifting more, and the wrist weights and ankle weights are great. So if I'm doing like chin-ups, if I've got my ankle weights on, like that's extra weight. So I'm still doing the same. It's not an extra action that I have to take, but it means that what I'm doing it, I'm working harder for it. I focus on building muscle. So, and particularly for me, legs is key. I have been adding in, rather than, because I love my runnings, like I run 5 days a week, but rather than just it all being the same, like fairly steady pace, it's just a half-hour run, I'm adding one day where I do some HIIT, so high intensity interval training. So that means I go for a gentle run, like there's a really steep hill or a couple of really steep hills, and then I'm just doing some hill sprints once a week just to get that heart rate up. And I actually really have noticed on the days where I do the sprints, my deep sleep is really good. Like, so there's a nice side benefit there for sleep. The other thing I've added in, we started this towards the end of last year, is Virgil, my oldest, is a bit obsessed with getting a 6-pack. So he's been doing planks in the evening. So I've been doing planks with him. So because it's 2025, we're doing 2 minutes and 25 seconds of planking. And I've actually noticed, an Irishman actually commented on my abs the other day, and I was like, whoa, because they've been a bit of a mess since having children. So that feels good. And then, in terms of only other fitness thing is I have an app for doing pelvic floor exercises to strengthen that area and keep me continent. So I'm just continuing on with that one. The app's called Squeezy, actually. It's put up by the National Health in the UK, and it's a really simple app to use. If you are looking for something that has a bit of structure to it, like that's definitely helpful if you want to do some pelvic floor work. Okay, then in terms of brain health, that's also, as I'm seeing my dad age, that's becoming more and more important to me. Fergal and I, and this is a kind of nice bonding thing, is after dinner we've been doing Wordle, so just using our brain in that way. I've been, actually for a couple of years now, I've been using Duolingo to learn French. I do my Duolingo every day. It's just maximum 5-minute lesson, and that feels good. And learning languages it does use your brain in different ways to what we normally do. So there's research on that. Another fun thing, this is a new thing that I'm doing for 2025, is actually doing something new each week. And it doesn't matter what the new thing is, because I think as we age, I can't remember where I came across this concept, that one of the reasons why as you age, time seems to like go really fast is because you're doing the same thing every day. And so you don't have that difference in your life. Whereas when you're younger and you're growing, like everything seems different and you're learning new things all the time and you're being exposed to new things all the time. So that's like slows down your perception of time. I'm not sure how true that is, but I just thought if I was going to add in something new this year, that this would be a fun thing to do. And so what I'm doing is I've just got to try, I keep a bullet journal. So I've just got a page in my bullet journal where I'm tracking that I do one new thing each week. And so it might be I go to a new restaurant, or I might drive a different road that I've never driven down. There's a greenway we have in my area, and so there's this greenway that I knew about that I hadn't, like, I've lived here for 10 years. I've never run down there, so I don't know what it looks like. So I went for a run in that. That's I'm really enjoying the new idea, or it can be like trying a new flavor combination. Like it doesn't matter what the new thing is. And there's actually, I bought ages ago from the art gallery, they had this, it was called Everyday Adventures. So it's like a little pack of cards with ideas for different things you could do in your life to have little everyday adventures. One of them was make something nice with beetroot, which of course I've done that one. And that's part of my new things, is to some of them to be generated by my brain, and then also to use that as inspirations, like do one of them a month. So that's been fun, and I'm going to keep going with that. Although I'm not sure what my new thing this week is my Irishman and I going to go to a new restaurant for lunch on Friday, so that will be fun. And my nutrition plan, my new health plan on the food front, basically no need to change anything there. Like, just keep doing what's working, and it's not that I'm perfect, but I don't really feel a need to do anything new. The one thing that I had restarted doing is planning a treat every day and actually tracking that I plan something. And this is something I teach in the Naturally Healthy Club, but I kind of had forgotten that habit for a while. And so some days my treat might be, like last night was like, I had a square of dark chocolate, like 85% cocoa solids. And actually, like, I had that with my tea, and it was like, I really savored it and enjoyed it. And I, like, half the square was enough. And so I've actually saved the other half for another day. So some days it's that. Some days it's like eating peanut butter off a spoon. Some days it's like wine related. That's always I love my wine treats. And then on the weekends, I usually have ice cream or some a dessert. But yeah, planning a treat every day just gives you that nice little thing that you're looking forward to each day. So that one's fun. But that's it on the nutrition front. Then in terms of sleep, I mentioned this before, but like having good sleep as the top goal before any of my other goals. Like, I will not sacrifice my sleep by worrying about stuff to achieve other goals. Then everything that I mentioned in the mental health plan, that has a direct impact on sleep. So, and then everything I mentioned in the fitness section has a direct impact on sleep. And then what else? Oh yeah, and so with the Wim Hof breathing techniques that I mentioned, there's a early morning one, and then he also has a breathing technique for before bedtime to improve sleep, and I found that very, very helpful. And since I've been doing that, the resting heart rate has been really great. Like, it's a really, yeah, I love it for relaxing. And like, after you do the breathing, you're like, yes, I'm ready for sleep. And the time it takes me to fall asleep generally is a lot less now that I've got that on my repertoire. So I'll definitely keep doing that. Okay. And then, yeah, what else? Oh yeah, relationships. So like, this is another, along with mental health, I think relationships is a very underestimated, considered part of our health. And if you read anything on longevity or study anything on longevity, like the relationship piece often comes up. It's that people who live longer tend to have good relationships or good community networks. And there's a book called The Blue Zones where they studied I think there's 6 or 7 different areas in the world where they had the highest percentage of centenarians, 100-year-old plus people. And all of those areas had a strong social network and a strong sense of community. So there is research and theories around the importance of relationships. So one thing I started doing last year was calling a friend every week and actually tracking this in my habit tracker. Like, have I called someone? And the cool thing is, I've got some friends that I've had for years, like since university days. And whenever I see them, it's always so amazing. But, over like, as we've gone through life, had children, like we've connected less, and we're living in different cities or different places, there's been less connection. And so by me calling them, it's like just reopened like such beautiful friendships, and it's reopened, like there's some like amazing memories that I would have completely forgot about, but Just we've been laughing about them. It's really fun. And the cool thing is that I've noticed since I've started calling my friends is that I've got friends that used to wouldn't speak very often, but since I've actively been calling them, they've started to call me like on a regular basis too. So it's working both ways. It's not like I'm doing all the work. So it's a really fun thing. So, but I didn't want to like one friend a week is good. Of course, if I do speak to more friends because for whatever reason, amazing. But yeah, just having that one little intention of like just once a week calling someone is really fun. It's definitely working. And it feels so good to have those connections. And another thing I'm doing intentionally is if I have the urge, like if someone crosses my mind, you know, how people pop into your head and I have that like little nudge, oh, I should message or I should call or I should reach out to, like when I have that urge, I'm either writing it on in my bullet journal to reach out to them or actually just bring up WhatsApp and sending them a quick message then and there. And that's another like, yeah, of course, it's not the same as having a conversation with someone, but that little like check in of like, oh, I'm thinking about you, like feels really good to do. And also last year, there was a friend of mine, actually, who was also my coach, who had been my coach. And I had the nudge to contact her about, and because I'd like noticed something like that I'd done that was really good. And then I hadn't done it. And then finally I reached out to her and had sent her an email about like the thing that she'd taught me that I'd implemented that had been really beneficial. And she, like, when she responded, she was like, wow, she's like, I was having such she called it a cloudy day. Like she was feeling really down. And she was like, your message, like would totally like, change my day. Right. And I was like, wow. So, I could have easily ignored that nudge. So yeah, when I have those nudges, I'm reaching out, and I've actually started tracking in my habit tracker, just the number of times I do reach out to people during the day. And just so that like I can, yeah, it's not like I have a goal around it, but just the more little reach outs I do, this feels really good. Actually, I have it in my habit tracker just to remind myself that that's an intention, that I want to reach out to people more often. And the other relationships things, another habit I'm tracking is making sure I give my Irishman a hug each day, because, we're busy, like we can go through a day without. So like that intentionally before we have dinner, reach out and having a hug with him. Or if he's traveling for work a lot at the moment, so sending him a nice thoughtful text, like just a missing you connection text, like that feels good. And then in terms of like parenting, my children relationships, one really fun thing I've started doing with two things actually that I've started doing with them is and tracking this is being intentional about giving each of them a compliment each day. So whether that's they did a good job with something, or whatever it is, it's just something positive, or even just telling them they're amazing, like for no reason at all, just because they are. And a bit hit and miss with remembering to do this one, but the more I do it, the better. It feels really good. And I think particularly like all children, of course, we all have this inner critic, and the more that they can, like the more praise that we get, like it helps to refute the evidence of the inner critics. And I also really want to get across to them the message that they don't have to achieve stuff to be an amazing person, that they're amazing exactly as they are, because I don't want them to have my achiever goal block, that's caused me so much stress in my life. And then the other thing I'm doing with the boys is for each of them, they're taking one night a week where they're cooking dinner. So I'm teaching them how to be joyful cooks and to cook without recipes. So they're choosing their protein, they're choosing their vegetable, I get them to choose a carbohydrate as well, of course, and a sauce and their flavor bombs. So that's really fun, where we're sometimes like Fimbo wanted to make spaghetti bolognese, so I made the bolognese sauce for him, but because then it could cook all through the day, and it would have more flavor than if we tried to do it together. He tested the pasta and he stirred the pasta, and then he mixed them together and served it up. And the other fun part about that is making enough so then they can have, like, getting him to pack up the school lunches. So they're having leftover bolognese, like spaghetti bolognese for school lunches, and he's packed it up. So it's saving me work as well as getting that sense of connection. Okay, so that's a lot, I know. And please don't listen to this and think, oh, that's so many things. Don't compare yourself to me, like, and let it lead you to overwhelm. what I want you to do instead is actually just choose one thing from all the things that I've mentioned there, of like, if there was anything that's made a little light come on inside your head of like, oh, that would be fun for me to do, then I invite you to experiment with adding that in. Or the other option is to actually give yourself permission to not to do less, right? So I can't tell you how helpful this is, but just think of one thing that's on your, oh, I should be doing that list, and give yourself permission to just cross it off, right? And you're not going to die from not doing that thing, and just give yourself that grace to not do it now. So yeah, have a fantastic week. And in terms of, I'll share some resources with the in the show notes, but I just wanted to mention another thing before we go, is that rather than reading lots of different books and listening to lots of different podcasts, like I actually had a goal the year before last to read 100 books, which I did, but I was surface skimming a lot of different ideas, and I didn't get overwhelmed, but it was like, I don't think that I actually implemented much from all that volume of information. So what I've decided to do this year is experiment with going really deep on just a few teachers. So the resources that I'm going deep with this year, so I mentioned Gentle by Courtney Carver, my friend, so around resting more and stressing less and simplifying your life. So she's one source. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is another book that I'm studying in terms of money mindset. And also my other money inspiration is a money coach, Denise Duffield Thomas, and she's got her book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, terrible title, but great book. Is definitely worthwhile checking out if you're new to her work. I'm in her paid program, but that's a great introduction. I mentioned that I'm doing the Wim Hoff course. So I've just finished he's got a basic one called Fundamentals, and then he's got this other one on called The Power of the Mind. So I'm doing his course, and I've got his app. And what else have I got? Oh yeah, and then the only other one is a marketing coach. So Simone Grace Soul, she has a program that I'm revisiting and going deeper and deeper on that, rather than having a lot of new inputs. And I haven't been, I haven't necessarily set an intention about this, but rather than listening to podcasts, there's a deep house music podcast I listen to, but I'm kind of minimizing podcast listening, so going deep on those other resources instead. And I just also thought, in terms of, while I was talking resources, there's a couple of things I mentioned. So that having a habit tracker I find it really helpful. Gives you that little dopamine when you're ticking off that, oh, I did that. The one I use is called Tally, the everything tracker. So you can set it up to track whatever you like. And the other resource that I started last year that I've really loved is bullet journaling. And so there's a book called The Bullet Journal Method by Ryder, Carroll. So if you're interested in, it's kind of a good organization thing, but it's also great from a mindfulness perspective and being present perspective as well, because it's a pen and paper thing rather than a digital thing. So yes, that's it for this week. So yeah, give yourself permission to do less, like cross one thing off your should be doing list, and I will catch you next week.